All right, here we are for the blue portion of the set review, looking at commons, uncommons, and rares, sorted within those categories by mana value. First up here is Alchemist's Retrieval. Single blue for an instant. Return target non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand, or it has a cleave cost of 1 in the blue to allow you to return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, period.
Yeah, totally fine. It's a dissipate bounce spell. We've seen these pretty recently quite a bit, and they've been exciting. But the little 1 mana upside of saving one of your things is kind of cool. So
sure.
I don't think it's anything special. I'd probably give it around a C-.
Yeah, I'll go D+, I think.
Sweet. This next one, though, oh baby, I love this one. Lantern Bearer, single blue mana for a 1/1 flyer with Disturbed for 3 mana. The Disturbed aura is the enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has flying.
This card's nuts.
Yeah, card's great. I really like this. Everything that we've been saying leading up to these kind of cards, all these Disturbed cards, applies here. It's a flying vessel to put your other auras on, your lifelink aura, your double strike aura, whatever you want, and you can just start piling things on, right? And it just starts the train early. It's gonna peck in for some points. They're gonna have to do something about it. Sometimes you even, it's like the Lunark veteran experience where it's like, okay, well, like they have a blocker for my thing now, but now I can just, I send it in and it comes back as something that they probably can't block, right? So, yeah, I'm really into this card. I think this is like a B-.
I agree. I didn't listen to the Mystical Dispute episode about this, but I did see some Twitter discussion, and the comparison to Fairy Guide Mother I thought was quite good.
That's a good
except that this is better because you often didn't, you were fine playing Guide Mother on 1.
Right.
So let's talk about this for a second, because the problem with 1 mana 1/1 flyers in general, like if this was just the front side, we would not be excited, because sure, if it's in your hand, if it's in your opening hand, great, it's going to peck in for 4, 5, 6 points of damage maybe throughout the course of the game. That's good. Any other time, this card is not good. Like it's just significantly worse. Mm-hmm. Fairy Guide Mother mitigated that from Eldraine with the adventure of target creature gets +1/+2 and flying until end of turn. Because when you did top deck that, you're like, cool, here's 6 damage out of nowhere or whatever. Yep. This has the same thing. It's great in your opening hand, but then also whatever, that is a chump block for a turn, or we'll see some looting effects or incidental mill or whatever, and then this is just insanely good to put on a creature. +1/+1 and flying, that's a real aura.
Yeah, and I think something we didn't mention with the white Disturbed creatures too, a little bit of cross synergy. But now we're getting to the blue Disturbed creatures here. They do have some synergy with exploit too. It's like a thing you feel kind of okay.
Yes, great.
Right. In black white that could be a thing too, but in blue black this is like, all right, you can sacrifice this, you get a little bit of value out of it. So really just like a nice powerful glue common too. So yeah, I'm happy with B- on this one.
Me too, buddy.
All right, cool.
Syncopate. X and a blue for an instant. Counter target spell unless its controller pays X. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard.
So I learned something cool about this card this week.
I don't know
if you knew this, but it's called Syncopate because it's a mix of Power Sync and Dissipate. Power Sync is the pay X part, and Dissipate is the exile part. And a little inside baseball there, a little magic joke, which is like I know most of those little magic quirks, but that's one I hadn't heard before. It really surprised me. So that's kind of cool.
What do you? My guess is you like this card too.
Yeah, I like this card quite a bit. I think that it's good on the curve, and then it's good later. Classic thing with all counterspells, the more instant stuff you have to play, the better it gets. But I think this is one of the better variants of the kind of counterspells we see generally.
I must just be bad or have a wrong memory of this. But my memory of this is that it wasn't very good, and that I was that you could just read this from a mile away and play accordingly. And I always felt like I had to snap it off. Yeah, I thank you for reminding me. I believe I called this Syncopate back in Dominaria. I didn't like this card.
Interesting.
So I don't know, but I must be wrong, because everybody I'm getting a lot of people who I think are good in the Lord's Limited Discord telling me, "Oh no, this is a good card," but that is not my memory of it.
I don't think it's amazing or anything. I think it's not going to be flip the switch level. That card is very different.
No, but let's again, we don't compare stuff to blue cards from
exactly.
mid,
Yeah, I just think that it's as far as a blue counterspell, I'm happy to play if my deck is conducive to it. This is a pretty decent one.
Yeah, I also think my other feeling is that format. Syncopate is great because it scales, except it doesn't really, because the more the game goes on, the more mana you have to hold up. Sure, you can nab. Sure, you're gonna feel great when you pay 2 mana to nab a 5-drop,
Yeah.
That doesn't happen that often. I hate to tell you.
Yeah, doesn't always happen. And, the lower the curves are in this format, the worse this card gets.
I also think that in a deck, the more the more disturbed cards you have, the worse counterspells get too. Because
go ahead.
Oh,
Still go ahead. What are you saying?
Well, because I guess it's a little less so with the aura portion. So so in mid, the more disturbed you have, the more awkward counterspells got because you telegraphed them so hard. When you go, okay, look, I could bring back this whatever,
right, yeah.
but I'm going to pass with mana up, and your opponent goes, okay, cool. So you have something to do with your mana. So now I'm going to figure out, is it revenge? Is it flip? Is it whatever? The same is true, I think, in this set. Slightly different though, because unlike just playing creatures, you may not always want to just slap an aura on something. Like if your opponent has mana open, then you may just go, yeah, I could play this aura, but I don't want to get blown out here, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I'm not a huge fan of this card. I'm going to give it a C-.
Yeah, I'm going to give it just a C. I think the stamp to put on it is like, it's a playable card if you have other instances in your decks, essentially.
Yes, agreed. Sorry,
Next up?
didn't mean to go on a rant there. We could
I
this up.
I do it all the time. You deserve one. Next up, we've got Cradle of Safety. So this is 1 and a blue for an aura, flash, enchant creature you control. When Cradle of Safety enters the battlefield, enchanted creature gains hexproof until end of turn, and the enchanted creature gets +1/+1. So Starlit Mantle is back.
Yeah. That card was wildly annoying in that set in Theros Beyond Death.
It was a bit of a sleeper. It was kind of like, oh, it looks kind of junky, and then you're like, oh, that's a thing, And this plays right into the aura theme, both in the sense of like it is an aura itself, and if you're loading up your auras on a particular creature, it's a nice little bit of interaction there.
Yeah. That's cool. Maybe I'll give the first copy of this, like a C?
Yeah, this first copy is a C, I think. And there's going to be decks that like actively want the first copy, too.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we've got Fear of Death. 1 and a blue for an aura enchant creature. When Fear of Death enters the battlefield, mill 2 cards. Enchanted creature gets -X/-0, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. So at bare minimum, -2/-0, but scales with the game, etc.
Could be more, yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting one because it's it has all of the things that we say about enchantment based removal spells, and it's got, it doesn't tap the creature, so like it's purely a defensive card for the most part. But it does enable some synergies, both enchantment and self-mill synergies.
Like
so
this couldn't have flash,
yeah, flash would be nice on this one.
Like, maybe that would be too good. I don't know. I'm kind of out on this card personally.
I'm gonna start out on this card as well, but I can see this coming up too. I'm gonna start at like a C-.
No, I'm going D.
Yeah, fair enough.
Next up, what do we got here?
We've got Selhoff and Tumors. This is 1 and a blue for a 1/3 zombie. This is tap, discard a creature card, draw a card.
Is it wrong to like this? Is it wrong? So wrong, Alex. I mean, I think I just want it in a disturbed deck, but I want it in a disturbed deck.
Yeah, it's also not too bad. Like, you kind of have late game, you're like, oh, this is kind of a crappy creature. I'll pitch it, throw it away. Maybe I can draw something better. So that's not too bad. Like, the baseline of this is you're not going to be pitching your creatures too often. But, yeah, like you're mentioning here, pitching a disturbed creature is not the worst. You do get 1.5 cards there, essentially.
Yeah. I guess it's still not like, I can't. No, I think I really would have liked this in disturb and mid.
Oh, it would be fantastic there. I think it would be like really, really...
really
good. A little too good as a common, yeah.
But here, maybe it's just not good enough. Because you really do need sort of like the disturb begets disturb, auras on creature stuff. Like,
yeah.
This is probably just like a D+.
There's no... Yeah, I mean, flashback doesn't really matter because it only discards creature cards. There's like marginal graveyard synergies we're going to see for creatures in the yard too. But yeah, I'm going to give this a C-, I think.
And there isn't... like I thought there was when we didn't have the complete spoiler, there isn't really a cycle of those pseudo madness cards, right?
No, it's just the one.
That's so weird and disappointing. And disappointing. All right.
Cool card.
Next up, we've got Serpentine Ambush. 1 and a blue for an instant until end of turn. Target creature becomes a blue serpent with base power and toughness 5/5.
They're tempting us, Ethan. They're saying, okay, 4/4 is not.
All right, you didn't like a 4/4. What can I?
5/5.
The best I can do is 5/5 serpent.
Yeah.
I still say no. I say no.
I still say no too. This is sort of interesting though. Like if you're kind of like It's. I was gonna say it's like kind of cool if you have like cheap flyers, but then you're just like lava axing them essentially.
Right.
I'm out on this. We said the same thing in AFR with like the blue black rogue thing. It's like, oh, you're aggressive in blue, and it's just like you never played that.
What was the card?
I couldn't tell you honestly. it made it a 4/4 flyer. I know that.
Okay. Yeah. This is
I'm gonna give this an F. This
is
the one, Ethan.
His F.
I don't care about hurting this guy's feelings.
Wow.
My Mordenkind's polymorph. That was it.
Oh my god. Oh right. The 6 mana one. No, wait, hold on. Wait, Mordenkine.
Oh, no. Sorry, that was a different one. Yeah, I don't know. Who cares?
Who cares about AFR?
That's years ago at this point.
Steel-clad Spirit is next. 1 on a blue for a 3/3 Spirit with Defender. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, Steel-clad Spirit can attack this turn as though it didn't have Defender.
Interesting. Yeah, so...
Moat Piranhas.
Right.
With upside?
I don't think I'm into this.
I think I'm not into this
either. You have to, like... keep enchanting it or keep having things like if it was just like if it's enchanted it can attack, I'd be totally into that.
Well, okay, hold on a second because no, it's not gonna work because I was thinking like Prismari Pledge Mage was good, and that was the 2 mana 3/3 defender, and then you cast an instant or sorcery or whatever or non-creature maybe. This is a lot finickier, and the kinds of spells that trigger this aren't the tempo-based spells that triggered the Pledge Mage. That were like, remove a blocker, attack with a 3/3. Like, this isn't good.
I'm pretty out on this.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this, a D, probably.
Yeah, I'm in for a D as well.
Oh, wait, here's an interesting one. We got Wretched Throng. So this is 1 and a blue for a 2/1. It's a zombie horror. When it dies, you may search your library for a card named Wretched Throng, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. So it's our collect them all set.
All in dealer.
Yeah, this is sweet. So I think on average this is worse than like Whisper Squad, right? Whisper Squad, but Whisper Squad was exceptional.
I mean, get your squad goals in chat first of all.
Yeah, squad goals in chat right now. But the fact that this has to like actually die means something, right? You can't just unload when it's convenient for you. You have to like actually like sacrifice it or get into combat. It's still good though, right? Like especially in the world of exploits, you're gonna be able to like have multiple things to sacrifice. This is your sacrifice fodder in blue, essentially. Even if like think of this as like a bait hook angler that dies into more bait hook anglers. Front side of bait hook angler, right? Not the back side. I think at 2, you're like maybe happy to play it. You're sad if you draw the second copy, but 3 and above, I think you're gonna be pretty happy.
It's really good. I mean, there's not a ton. There's some. There's not a ton of exploit fodder.
No, it's like pretty. It's fairly sparse.
And so this is your blue fodder.
Yeah.
I like this. I don't know. I'm kind of into this.
I think it's gonna fall basically like Whisper Squad was kind of the exception to these cut.
But people didn't even get how good that was. Like no one's gonna like this.
Well, I don't know. I think this is kind of appealing. Maybe not. Maybe it does look kind of dorky if you haven't played with these kind of cards. But I was just gonna say that like Whisper Squad is the exception where I'd like first pick Whisper Squad and feel okay about it. Usually these types of cards, you're like, okay, I'll take it 4th, 5th, speculate on it, and like maybe I get there or take it. I saw one earlier, I speculate on it. So I don't know if this is gonna get quite into that Whisper Squad level of I'm happy to first pick them and take them all. I doubt it will. But, like I said, I'm happy to like speculate on them on mid-pack and note when they're early, when I see them early, so I can, pick one up 7th and then wheel that one I saw in pick 1 or in pack 1.
Yeah. I'm going to start with a C+ on this.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think I'm going to set it there too.
Next up, we've got Chill of the Grave. This is the Alex Nikolic card because you never say graveyard.
I say grave?
You only say grave. You don't know this about yourself?
I didn't know that.
I don't think I've ever heard you say the word graveyard.
Wow. That's like somebody told me, hey, why do you say weekend? Like I say weekend.
Weekend?
And I didn't know it for like all of my life.
Yeah.
So you just taught me something about myself today, Ethan.
Yeah, never in my life have I heard you say graveyard.
Wow.
So Chill of the Grave here is 2 and a blue for an instant. It costs 1 less to cast if you control a zombie. Tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Draw a card.
And, we've seen...
Blue Neonates Rush.
Yeah, Blue Neonates Rush. That's kind of funny. It's a good comparison. Yeah, we've seen, like, variants of this card before, and they've been, like, solid. If you do get this for 2, that's a lot better than 3, I think. Like, that's a pretty meaningful, gap.
I mean, this is Crippling Chill is a good card. Basically, effectively remove a creature for 2 turns, right? Tap it on their upkeep or whatever, and then it stays tapped for 2 turns.
Especially blue is kind of looking more like a tempo color than a controlling color too, right? So like,
you would say that.
Yeah, I guess I would say that. But Ethan, you love the 1/1 flyer as much as I do.
I do. That card, well, gamer recognizes game. You know, I can tell. I can tell it's a good card.
So I think I'm gonna give the C+ to Chill the Graveyard.
He got me, chat. He got me. You're on C+. I'm gonna join you on C+.
All right, sweet.
Yeah.
All right, next up we've got Stitched Assistant. Oh baby, 2 and a blue for a 3/2 zombie. Exploit. When Stitched Assistant exploits a creature, scry 1 and draw 1.
So here's something to talk about with exploit.
Yeah.
Which is that, so there's this one, there's like a black 2-drop common that has exploit. The cheaper the card is, the worse the exploit. The worse it is that it has exploit, or the less likely exploit is going to come up with it.
Right, yes.
Like, when we get to the uncommon, like the 5-mana 3/5, they have to bounce a thing, or Griptide a thing. Now we're talking. Because, you're gonna, by that point in the game, some creature will have revealed itself to be worthless on your side, or you've, got the fodder available for it, whatever. So, just throwing that out there, that this is just I think this is just whatever. Scry 1, draw a card, that's good. You can cash in a creature. I guess just the modality of it is but the one side of just 3-mana 3/2, I don't love. And so the other...
I think there's going to be pretty good curves where you cast something on 1 that you don't mind sacrificing, or cast a value creature on 2 that you actually want to actively sacrifice. So I agree with what you're saying. It's there's a bit of tension there with the cheap exploit creatures. This one... Okay, so there's one that we'll see in the future, the black one you're referencing. That one makes the person exile a card from their hand. This one, I feel less bad about being cheap because the exile card from the hand is only kind of good early when they have stuff in hand. This one, at any point in the game, you're going to be really happy about, right? Just the scry 1, draw a card. So you can sacrifice the worst thing when you top deck it. And like I said, there's going to be those curve outs where you go value 2 drop into this, and you're pretty happy. So, I don't know. I am a little bit higher on the card than you. I think I'm going to start it at probably a C+.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to go C on this.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Just because of how much I dislike 3-mana 3/2s.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, next.
All right, what do I got next?
We got Siphon Essence. 2 and a blue for an instant. Counter target creature or planeswalker spell, create a blood token. Whoa.
I'm in. I think so. I think a trend we've kind of seen.
Yeah.
Is these 3-mana instant, sometimes conditional. I mean, all the times conditional counter spells. They counter a creature, or they flip switch counters unless we play 4. In AFR, we saw Bar the Gate, which was kind of a sleeper, in my opinion, near the end of the format. And this is, it's following in that lineage where it's counter a spell, it has to be a creature or a planeswalker, and then you get a resource, right? So it's just like Flip the Switch, where it's 3-mana counter spell, get a resource.
Well, and this isn't dead in the late game.
Right, yeah. And it's it's pseudo card advantage if you're keeping your lands, right? You can pitch your land and
counter target
dare
spell.
I say it's exclude?
I mean 3-mana. Oh yeah, 3 exclude. There you go. Yeah, I was yeah. I am kind of in. Can I give this a C+?
I'm really into this. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a C+.
That is pretty good.
Sweet.
All right, what's next?
Next up, we got Wanderlight Spirit. So there's 2 and a blue for a 2/3 flying spirit. Can only block creatures of flying. Not so into this.
No.
It's okay. It's by no means bad, but this is just better than a Windrake, essentially. It's
not even sometimes.
Sometimes
you gotta block. I
don't
know if you remember from our last set review, but you're always behind in a game of Magic.
You're always behind in a game, exactly.
So,
if chat is anybody to believe, you're always behind in a game of Magic.
So you gotta block sometimes.
Yeah, this I want to say I don't like this card very much because I'm sure there's just better cards to play. This is a card 5-10 years ago I'd be yeah, super solid, but now it's just meh. We've just seen so many other better cards.
I'm at D+.
Yeah,
I don't care about this card
probably
at all.
C minus maybe.
I just think you're just like basically never playing this.
I think you never really have to. It wouldn't be a disaster if you had to, but
No.
I don't think you're gonna need to play this as your 23rd card or whatever.
I like this one, Binding Geist. 2 and a blue for a 3/1 spirit. When it attacks, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end of turn, and it has Disturb. For 1 and a blue, comes back as an aura that gives enchanted creature -2/-0.
Yeah, this one's cool. Like this is, you've got something to sacrifice on the front side, or just a 3/1 beater that sometimes gets in early because they just only have one thing. You go make that small. All right, your 2-power creature can't trade with my 3/1 anymore. And then when it trades off eventually, sure, it makes something a little bit smaller. It's not going to be a pure removal spell, but you put it on a flyer or something, and it nullifies it. A little bit of value. Yeah, I think this card does enough stuff that I'm pretty into it. I'd give it a C+.
Yeah, I agree.
Sweet. All right. Next up, Ethan, we've got the next entry in the long line of Phantom Monsters. We've got Cruel Witness. That's 2 blue for a 3/3 flyer. Bird Horror with some really cool art. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. It surveils.
It surveils.
Okay, so basically, I think this card is good. I think the addition of okay, we've got some churning going on through our deck, milling ourselves, surveilling, getting some filtering. That's a meaningful upside on your 3-mana 3/3 flyer. Now, I think the point I want to make, and I'm going to make this point, Ethan, is that 4-mana 3/3 flyer. It's not all it used to be in the glory days of the limited, but it's still a fine body, just like Windrake. When you got a decent ability on top of it, I'm pretty into it.
And the joke here, whatever, the setup here is that it's very good on Disturb, right? Because your auras trigger this.
Yep.
And then you can find Disturb cards and bin them if you want to sort of effectively draw cards. Yeah, I think that all adds up to a C for me.
Yeah, I maybe going against my own morals here, but I think I'm gonna give this a C+.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just can't hold, can you? Okay.
Yeah.
Next is Repository Scab. 3 and a blue for a 3/3 zombie with exploit. When it exploits a creature, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand.
Interesting.
So I get a +1/+2 on it, but I gotta sack a creature to get my, Archaeomancer effect or whatever.
Yeah, not super into this. I think so. One of the things that's interesting is it depends on your exploit deck is going to vary, because sometimes, or your different exploit decks, I should say, because sometimes you're going to be flush on things that are good to sacrifice, and you don't have enough exploit things. Sometimes vice versa, you have a lot of exploit, but not a lot of things that are good to sacrifice. So when you have a lot of things that are good to sacrifice, this card does go up a little bit, where it's okay, I would like to sacrifice this creature that gives me value on death or whatever, and maybe the output isn't amazing, but it's okay, and the fact that I'm sacrificing this thing that I'd like to sack makes this pretty passable. So I don't think Repository Scab is your bread and butter. You always want to play this card, but just like with your Elementalist, if I have cheap interaction spells, I'm more interested in playing it, and if I'm on that scale of I've got a bunch of Doom Dissenters, right? 2-mana 1/1 when it dies, make a zombie. Maybe I'm more into this. Or if I have the zombie, the blue-black uncommon that we saw, where it cares about exploiting. So yeah, I'm not super excited about this, but some decks will want this more than others.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's some tension to be wary of in terms of your exploit decks are going to want to be high creature decks.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of goes against then how many instants and sorceries are you going to have and by what turn and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. This card is fine. I think it's a C-.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just going to give it a C- as well, but I can see it being a little bit better than in some decks.
Okay.
Next up, we've got Scattered Thoughts. 3 and a blue for an instant. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put 2 of those cards in your hand, the rest in the grave.
See? The word graveyard is there. And what did you say? You said something different. I
thought you were making a different comment. I thought you were just see, give it a C, move on.
Oh no,
I got it. I see what you're saying.
SEE.
Pointing out my character flaw, Ethan.
Yes. No, it's not a flaw. I find it to be a fun quirk.
He's fine. He's quirky.
He's
All
fine.
right.
He's fine.
What do we think about Scatter Thoughts?
I think it's fine. A C. Yeah, it's funny. This is like kind of like Organ Hoarder, except it doesn't have it's not a 3/2. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
So like this is the exact kind of card that it's definitely gotten a little bit worse as sets have gotten sped up. The cheap cards are better, more tempo based. Where you like sometimes you'll play a copy of this in like your decks that like actively want to go quite long and like want a card draw spell to go over the top. But like just like we saw in the last set, where there was a lot of value things just in your creatures just provided so much value. I think we have a little bit less of that, to be fair, in this set, but there's still a decent amount of that. So these kind of cards do get a little bit worse. Like that. That's the two things in tandem. Both the sets have sped up, where these kind of cards aren't like amazing like they used to be, and there's more cards that just provide you incidental onboard value. So I think this card's going to like have its place sometimes, but it's not just like a card you want on most of your blue decks.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's so funny coming off of the like Ravnica mixer thing where Tamiyo's Epiphany did still feel busted.
Yeah. There's a different era, Ethan. There's a different era.
It's only like whatever 3 years ago, but
yeah.
Yeah. So what are you giving it?
I give it a C.
C. Yeah. Cool. Next, Sky Warp Scob, 3 blue for a 2/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile 2 creature cards from your graveyard, or sorry, you might call it a grave. If you do, draw a card.
I'm into this one.
Really?
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. This is cool.
That's cool. Yeah,
it's cool.
Like
This is neato.
It comes down. It blocks really well. It draws you a card, and then it picks in.
Well, sure. I mean, 2 things. 2 creature cards are not going to be in your graveyard on turn 5.
You don't think?
I don't know. Not the way I play. I turtle up, baby.
What if I sneak in an Organ Hoarder from
my Judge?
So I think that even if you don't like, this isn't going to have to be your turn 5 play all the time, right? Like you can like block on turn 4 and turn 5, and then this comes down the turn later. And sometimes you will. Like sometimes you just have the self mill kind of stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I think
maybe it's very good in blue green.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have 2 creatures in your graveyard on turn 5 some percentage of the time, like maybe 40% of the time, and in the times you don't, it's still gonna be a very good card later. I'm still not gonna give it a high grade.
Right, like, that's why I'm like, you love this. Yeah. What is this for you? B- territory.
No. I'm still gonna give it a C, but
yeah, C sounds fine. Actually, I'm gonna go C-.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think you're gonna be sad when your opponent plays this.
Yeah. Well, no, you're gonna be sad because you're like, I can't attack past that. I'm like, great. Let's
go. You're like, sure, it's only 2 power. Who cares?
2 power. What's the big deal? Last comment here is Dreadlight Monstrosity. 4 blue for a 5/5 crab horror with Ward 2. Fine. 3, and it has an activated ability of 3 blue. Can't be blocked this turn. Activate only if you own a card in exile.
Weird effect.
What?
So basically, this means if your opponent, if you have the card we just saw that exiles something as a cost, there's a few other cards that exile as a cost. If one of your disturbed auras has gone, fallen off the creature, that'll get exiled. Maybe your opponent's cast an exile-based removal spell. It's not going to be trivial to turn this on. And also, even when you do, you're spending your turn to make this unblockable. I don't know. It's like this weird common finisher that I don't really think you need to play.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't quite know what to make of this. I should not have to work for my 6 mana thing to be unblockable. That's my big, like, honestly, if it was just the 6 mana 5/5 or whatever, 6 mana 4/5 and then can't be blocked this turn. We've argued about this before about I would be like, that's fine. And you're like, you shouldn't need, like, if you're drafting a control deck, you should have better finishers. And exactly. I am pretty much...
You should have rares.
Right. Like, I keep talking about this all the time of, like, aggro decks want... The definition of aggro decks is that they want the game to go long. The definition of control deck... Or that they want the game to be over as quickly as possible. And the control decks is the reverse. And why do you want that? Well, because you have to have reasons to do that. And this can't be your reason.
No.
So, no to the Dreadlight Monstrosity.
Yeah, I think so. Like, outside of some notable exceptions, I think the idea of, like, a finisher at common just, like, doesn't make that much sense. Because, like, you're kind of alluding to here, you need the powerful cards, not just, like, a common card to finish the game. Like, this could finish a game, hypothetically, but it's not going to do it in the way you want, because you're still going to have to spend a bunch of mana, and they can, like, race you or something.
Gear Seeker Serpent is being thrown out as a comparison from Kaladesh. That could be like 2 mana.
Yeah, that was large.
In the right deck, you could go Ether Swooper into something and then play it on turn 4.
Much different card.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go D.
Yeah,
Cool.
I can go D as well. Next up, we got our first uncommon. We got Cobbled Lancer, single blue mana for a 3/3 zombie horse. As an additional cost to cast this spell, exile a creature card from your grave. For the crab there, and it has an activated ability. You can cast or activate from your graveyard. 3 and a blue.
I'm not trying. Don't change, Alex. Don't be self-conscious.
Exile Cobbled Lancer from your graveyard and draw a card. So you got this 1 mana 3/3 you can't cast, on turn 1, 2, 3. Sometimes you self-mill or discard a card early, and you can like get it pretty early, but never going to be actually a 1 mana 3/3 early. And then when it's in the grave, you can sacrifice it to draw a card. So like this card screams self-mill to me, right? You both want self-mill to cast this early, in some sense, or you want to mill this over, and it's like something you can you just draw a card when the mana is convenient for you.
This is
also it's not that bad if you just trade off on turn 2. You go attack, block, play my 3/3.
Exactly, like this just slots into your at no point in the game is a 3/3 creature really irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that on turn 5, finally something's dead, and I go 4-drop this. Like your opponent's like, wait, what just happened?
Yep.
And then this is gonna also 2-for-1. Like it's gonna draw a card later.
Yep.
This card is like a solid B.
I'm a little lower on that, I think, than you, but I like it. It's a nice little card. I think I'd go C+.
Just don't play a land on the draw. Easy, turn 1. Yeah. First, next up we got Wash Away. This is single blue for an instant. It has a cleave cost of 1 blue. So either you can pay a single blue mana to counter target spell that wasn't cast from its owner's hand, or then it's just 1 blue counter target spell.
Right. So the 1 mana mode counter is essentially disturb creatures. I think that's about it in this set. I don't think there's anything you cast from exile. So it's just disturb creatures. Maybe there's
the stupid Black Madness card, the pseudo Madness card.
Black Madness, that's kind of funny. Yeah, one card we haven't quite talked about yet, but that is kind of interesting. Something casting from wherever, the graveyard, I guess. But it's not going to come up that often, essentially. And then so you're playing like a cancel that sometimes nabs their, they go for their 4 mana aura, and you're like, all right, it's a bit of a tempo blowout. But ultimately, this isn't much better than a cancel.
I don't like. Yeah, this is not. Yeah, whatever. This is whatever. This is C minus D plus.
Yeah, I'm in for that.
Okay.
Next up, we've got Lunar Rejection. 1 and a blue for an instant cleave. 3 and a blue. It says return target wolf or werewolf creature to its owner's hand. You draw a card. So 2 mana. You can if your opponent's if you're lucky enough that your opponent played a wolf or werewolf early, it's 2 mana to bounce it and draw a card. Or you pay the cleave cost, so full 4 mana, you can bounce anything and draw a card, any creature.
Yeah, I like this card. I mean,
yeah, this is cool. These variants, these 4 mana bounce draw variants are usually pretty decent. There's some sets they're a little bit worse than others, but like the times that you can snag a werewolf with this make up for the fact that like the 4 mana mode's a little clunky. It's not even that clunky. It's just a nice little effect.
We are seeing a fair amount of instant speed stuff to do.
Yeah.
In blue.
Yeah.
That
we have been.
Might make me a little hotter on Syncopate. Old Stinky Pate. C plus.
Yeah, I'm in for C+ on this one.
All right, next we've got Storm Chaser Drake. 1 and a blue for a 2/1 flyer. When it becomes the target of a spell you control, draw a card. Hello!
This is a sweet one. So,
oh my god.
So baseline is just a 2 mana 2/1 flyer, and that's just like a good rate. That you're happy with that. But the joke here, of course, is you're targeting. This is a blue-white card, right? Where you target with your auras, and every time you put an aura on this, you draw a card.
So is Disturb going to be the best deck in this format too?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh my goodness.
Also, maybe like a blue-red deck with like pump spells and stuff.
Right.
Or, yeah, I can see that being a thing too. Your pump spells just can't trip at that point. That's kind of cool too. Yeah, Vampire Interloper, this is not.
Yeah, give me a break. B? At least?
Yeah, I'm in for B on this. The upside is so high, and so is the floor.
Yeah. Next up is Mischievous Catgeist. What's going on here?
Yeah, we got a 1 and a blue, 2 mana cat spirit. It's just a 1/1. And it says whenever Mischievous Catgeist, funny name, deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. And then the backside, the disturb, of course, the where this is going. 3 mana disturb, 2 and a blue. You enchant a creature. It has whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that creature you draw a card. So
this just plays so well with the first strike, with the flying, with
yeah.
There's one that we're about to see that's going to be like if it attacks alone, it can't be blocked. Like
this is much more of a support card than this is you can pile on the give this thing flying, right? Like I think when you look at this card, you're like, oh, 1 mana, 2 mana 1/1. That's not going to get in, but it's like. You got to look at the supporting cast too, right? It's like you got that, like you're saying, all these things that get
Blue White's very much an ensemble film here.
Yes, it's an ensemble film, exactly right. So I don't know. I think this is a good role player. I don't think it's that high of a pick, to be honest. It's just you'll like play it in your blue white deck. So I don't know. I think it's probably around a C.
Yeah, I'm gonna go synergy C plus. Like I don't think
okay.
I'm very though. Actually, I don't know. This is also good with. What's it, exploit stuff? Like,
oh, sure, yeah.
You sack this and then slap this on some big thing. Like,
yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Maybe I'm just gonna go straight C plus.
All right.
So just take it.
All right.
Next is Soul Cipher Board. Strap in, folks. 1 and a blue for an artifact. Enters the battlefield with 3 omen counters on it. Pay 1 and a blue, tap. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. You put 1 of them into your graveyard. Whenever a creature card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, remove an omen counter from Soul Cipher Board. Then, if it has no omen counters on it, transform it, okay? Then it flips into Cipherbound Spirit, which is a 3/2 flyer that can only block creatures with flying and has an activated ability of 3 and a blue, draw 2 cards, then discard a card.
I like how you're okay. It was like everybody on board still?
Everybody, are we all here? Because we're only halfway through.
So let's break this down, Ethan. So the front side is an artifact that doesn't do too much, but it gives you a little bit of filtering, right? You can like pay 2, look at the top of your cards, mill 1 of them, and then you don't actually draw cards off of it, just that filtering depending on what you want to draw or put in the graveyard. It's cool though. The one kind of interesting thing is you don't, unlike something like Heirloom Mirror, which this kind of feels like a little bit, you don't actually have to get the counters from that activated ability. You can actually, your creatures can just die in combat, or you mill them, and you'll get counters on it. So that's a bit of a bonus, for your troubles of playing a 2 mana artifact that doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
What's your payoff though? It's a 3/2 flyer that can't really block and has like a slow card advantage ability. I don't think I'm so into this.
I'm not either, because as I said on Lords Limited this week, if Heirloom Mirror even had the other text, that you had this text of like whatever, whenever, if it could flip incidentally without pumping mana into it,
yeah,
you still were just like, okay, cool, Revenge of the Drowned, you're toast.
Yeah, this thing is, and this is a smaller body than 4/4 flyer.
Yeah, that doesn't eat your graveyard.
I could just ignore it. Like, you're spending so much time. I mean, maybe not the most time in the world because it maybe just sits around and then you accrue counters naturally. But even still, if you spend any amount of time playing, like you spent some time spending 2 mana doing nothing, and then if you activate it, it's more time, and then you have this creature that like you spend more mana to draw more cards. I think it's just like too many hoops to jump through for not enough of a payoff.
Yeah, fool me once, shame on you.
Yeah,
fool me twice. Goodbye. I'm gonna go D on this. I mean, it's probably just it is probably just an F, to be honest.
I'm in for it.
But maybe there's some blue-green self-mill decks where you like it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm in for it. Next up, we got a Geistlight Snare. This is 2 and a blue for an instant. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a spirit. It also costs 1 less to cast if you control an enchantment, and it says counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. So we've got a 3 mana leak essentially. It could be 2 or it could be 1.
Yeah, well, this is whatever. Like both of these uncommon counterspells are markedly worse than the common one.
Usually you see these pop up constructed more often where you like consistently have a good 1 mana play and like consistently have a good 2 mana play, and like you can hold this up. Maybe it's 1 mana, maybe it's 2 as you cast your 2-drop on 4 and hold this up. And limited, like, you're gonna get something with this sometimes, but you'd have to be like pretty spirit and enchantment heavy. Like the payoff's just not that great. It's a cheap counter spell, which is fine, but nothing you really want to work for. So it is probably about a D.
Yep, I like D here. Oh boy. Thirst for Discovery is next. 2 and a blue for an instant. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a basic land card.
Yeah, so it's like, it's what's the card? Compulsive research for anybody, for old school players, right?
At
It's like
instant speed.
And it's in speed. It's kind of funny. This is better in limited than it is constructed, probably, because you're always gonna have basics to discard. How good is this effect though? 3 mana, draw 3, discard. Mostly, most often 1. Pretty good. And then sometimes you discard things you actually want into the graveyard. This is a card draw spell that I'm pretty into because it helps you hit your land drops and digs 3 deep. This is a very serviceable card draw spell.
How high? Pulls you into blue high?
No, I don't think it pulls me into blue.
That's C+, right?
It's C or C+. Yeah, I'm just going to give it a C, I think.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
this is
Ethan Saxon all over it.
Together,
so, Witness the Future is here. Yeah, what is this?
2 and a blue for a sorcery. Target player shuffles up to 4 target cards from their graveyard into their library. So you can target you or your opponent with that. You look at the top 4 cards of your library and put one of those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom in a random order.
So this is like clear the mind, but you get selection, but it's uncommon, so it's very unlikely you're going to get 2 and be able to do the loop thing, but you'll be able to do the loop thing sometimes.
Yeah.
The question again is like, is that even good? Because you could do the loop thing in mid and it just never mattered. Like the games just didn't end up going like that.
It wasn't about that. People just had,
and believe me, action. I looped Turn the Earths, I looped Devious Cover-Ups, it just didn't matter.
I think this is more my deck is light on I think a lot of people liked to put Turn the Earth in their deck where they're like, oh, I'm self-milling myself a lot and I might deck and I have some pretty good cards to get back. But I was pretty low on that because like you're just burning a card for that purpose. Here, at least you get your card back. I'm a little bit higher on this card in that context. But even still, I think it's not like it's just a little bit too wheel spinning.
There's not organ hoarders and farmers, right? There's not a lot of common self-mill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is probably just like a D-.
All right. Well, if you're gonna give it a D-, I gotta give it a D- too. Then if the Advocate gives it a low grade, I can't.
Yeah, this is very much a do as I say, not as I do card. Like, don't play it. You will see me playing it. Don't play it.
Next up, we've got I'll read this one.
Yeah, go for it.
I've read like 4 in a row, but why not one more?
Yeah.
Biolumeg. I'm just so excited about this. Biolumeg, 2 and a blue for an 0/4 defender. It's a Serpent Egg. When Biolumeg enters the battlefield, you scry 2. Whenever you sacrifice Biolumeg, return to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. And it comes back transformed as a 4/4 that has the ability sack 2 islands. Biolume Serpent cannot be blocked this turn.
Well, you heard me like in real time assess this card on Lords Limited this week, so I'll let you throw your evaluation out here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty decent. Like, this is a good thing to sacrifice if you're exploiting. Yeah, you actively have to be exploiting though, because it's only sacrifice. It's not like it dies. But like, the 3/3 that we were talking about, the 4-mana 3/3 that gets back an instant or sorcery, like even if you're a little bit instant or sorcery light, sometimes you'll just go, okay, I exploit this egg on 3, I have a 4/4 and a 3/3 now.
Yep.
Like you don't have to be getting infinite value off of everything. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Was sometimes you're going to be a little bit heavy on the sacrifice payoffs. This is a pretty good one, and you just go, all right, just use my exploit creature to get, break open the egg essentially, which is fine. So I actually like this card quite a bit as like a synergy card. So I'd give it a synergy B-.
Yeah, I like it at synergy B myself, but yeah, I think like what you said, you have to be exploiting, but once you are, pretty good.
Yep.
Whispering Wizard is 3 and a blue for a 3/2 human wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. This ability triggers only once each turn.
Oh, my boy. Look what they did to my boy Murmuring Mystic. It's still good, though. It's still a really powerful effect.
Well, so what did you think about Ben's comparison to the Fairy Trickster, or the Feywild Trickster?
Don't tell Ben, but I thought it wasn't that great, to be honest.
Okay.
Because Feywild Trickster asked you to put a specific subset of cards in your deck that you weren't interested in all that much anyways. Like, you're just like, some of these die roll cards are okay, but a lot of them I'm not so interested in. And that just wasn't a synergy you wanted to lean into. Here, non-creature spell is a lot easier to lean into, and it's something you're going to actively want to do for some decks.
Yeah. This is, the jury's out for me on this, because the body is bad.
It is small, yeah.
And I think honestly, if we think about the spells decks that you were able to draft in mid, you were popping off on turn 5 and 6. You were double spelling.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that this doesn't give you multiple 1/1s for that kind of bothers me.
Well, you can kind of temper yourself and go one thing on my turn, one thing on your turn, right? Like,
yeah.
I think this is this. So
Yeah, and I guess this is good with the disturb auras too.
It being fragile is the downside. Like, it's the difference between a 3/2 and a 1/5 is really large, because your 1/5 could block small creatures and not be worried about dying to a pump spell. This just can't really even block without dying. And there was a lot of removal that didn't kill a 1/5, right? Like a 3/2 dies to its knees. So it is more of an enchantment than Murmuring Mystic was. So I think it's quite a different card and definitely worse. But again, there's like making kind of the Organ Hoarder comparison. There's a lot of room between Murmuring Mystic and back, right?
Yes.
So this card is still pretty good. Not going to be quite that level. I think it's going to be like a synergy C+, essentially.
Yeah, I think it sounds I'm actually higher, because I'm going to build around B-, because I think this is worth like doing the thing for, right?
Yep.
Rather than you're doing the thing and then you get this, but maybe not.
Yeah, that's reasonable. All right, next up we've got Gutter Skulker. This is 3 and a blue for a 3/3 spirit. It says Gutter Skulker can't be blocked as long as it's attacking alone, and it has Disturb for 4 mana, 3 and a blue. It's got that same ability. Enchanted creature can't be blocked as long as it's attacking alone.
Yeah, I mean, this is the quintessential plays well with others.
Yeah, it tells you exactly what to do. It's just like you need to just like shove it all on one creature, and that's okay.
Yeah. You know what's looking really good in blue-white?
Oh, tell me.
Adamant Will.
Just like I mean, and Starlight.
Like it's your dive down for.
Yeah, 2 mana is a lot more than 1. But
sure.
It definitely, if you are all in on the Voltron up, my one good spirit. Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be a card you're interested in.
Yeah. I like this. I think this is like a B-. Maybe synergy B-, but.
Yeah, synergy. I'm going to go just like C+, I think. But yeah, it's good.
All right, our exploit creature, Diver Scob, 3 blue for a 3/5. When it exploits a creature, target creature's owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library.
I like how it's literally just like the Drowned getting its revenge, right?
Yeah.
It's the exact same card, just in creature form. This is powerful. This is great.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, this is just like a Flame Tongue Kavu-esque card, right?
Effectively.
Like, obviously,
I also really like this change of top or bottom.
Yes, yeah. So you don't just like have to be forced to top an awful card.
Well, so it does two things, right? It gives the player who it's being done to some agency. Yes. But then it also, when it does get bottomed, it really hammers home this is removal. Like, yeah. It's just like, oh, I get it. This actually just killed that creature.
It's also kind of funny because there's a lot of situation, and I'm gonna give a warning to those out there, who are gonna face this card. Sometimes you just gotta bottom your creature. I know I had a lot of games where my opponents like basically lost the spot because they just were like, well, I guess I'll top this because it's a spell, and I'm just like, oh, that's not the spell you need. Like you need to put that on the bottom. You gotta dig for something better than. I think it's very tempting to be like, well, at least it's something, right? Mm-hmm. But, just something isn't good enough a lot of the time. Like, when you're playing against this card, put that medium spell on the bottom and hope to draw something better. As far as this card goes, it's a beating. It's like,
yes,
obviously, it's even if you don't get, like, straight value, you're sacking something that's actively good to sack. If you just sacrifice, like, a small creature, just so your 3/5 casts Revenge of the Drowned, that's really good, right? And then when you do get value, it's just insanely, like such a massive beating. So I'm really high on this card. I'm gonna this a B.
Yeah, I like B on Diver Scob as well. What's our last uncommon here?
All right, our last uncommon here is kind of a funky one. Screaming Swarm. This is 6 mana, 5 and a blue for a 4/4. It's got flying, and it says whenever you attack with one or more creatures, target player mills that many cards. Has a 3 mana activated ability, 2 and a blue. Put Screaming Swarm from your graveyard into your library, second from the top.
I say whatever to this.
Yeah, it's like this, like, I guess the idea is this like horde of birds that just like won't stop pecking at you, and it's just like just keeps coming back, and you literally get pecked to death, right? That's kind of the idea here. So it's like you don't really need to win through damage. Maybe you're winning through a bunch of small 1/1s that can't get through, but then again, like then they just die. I don't know. It's a weird card. I want to say it's not good, but it has like enough stuff going for it that maybe there's something there. I don't know. I think you're just better off attacking them with damage, but it's fine. It's a 6-mana 4/4 flyer, which is okay.
So it's 6-mana 4. Like the middle chunk of text doesn't matter, is the thing. So it's just 6-mana 4/4 flyer that you can recur, which is fine.
Milling them is going to be a bad thing for you a lot of the time, though, right?
What's that?
Milling them is going to be bad. Like
some amount of the time, sure.
Them. Yeah.
Yeah. Target player mills. So you can just mill yourself.
Target player. Sorry. Okay, never mind. That's not okay. Yeah.
I still think this card is like a C.
I am fair. Yeah, I am in agreement.
And I liked Phantom Carriage, but I don't know why. Like I don't know.
I think Carriage is fine. I think this is definitely worse than Carriage.
Definitely worse than Carriage. Carriage I think was like a C plus. I think this is a C.
Yep, I agree with that.
All right. The rares. Patchwork Crawler. 1 on a blue for a 1/2 zombie horror. 2 in a blue, exile target creature card from your graveyard and put a +1/+1 counter on Patchwork Crawler. And it has all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with it. Huh.
I don't think this card is very good.
No.
it just takes too long to get big. And like the activated ability thing is cute, but I think it's basically tricky text. Like paying 3 mana to make it a little bit bigger.
Paying 5 mana for a 2/3?
Yeah, that's not so good.
Thank you.
I think this is just like an F, essentially.
Yeah, I'm down with F. That sounds fine.
Cool. Next one we've got Jacob Hauken in Inspector. So it's a mythic. It's a 1 in a blue 0/2. Human Advisor. It says tap to draw a card and then exile a card from your hand face down. You may look at that card for as long as it remains exiled. You can pay 4 blue. If you do, transform Jacob Hauken Inspector. So that's part of that ability. After you do the draw, discard, and then you can have the option to pay 6. If you do, it transforms into Hauken's Insight, which is a legendary enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library face down. You may look at that card for as long as it remains exiled. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land or cast a spell from among the cards that were exiled with this permanent without paying its mana cost. So a lot of words, but this card's really cool. It's a looter, so it's just like a tap, draw a card, discard a card. Really, just good effect in general. Plus, in this, an Innistrad set, put stuff in your graveyard that you want to put in. Puts your disturb stuff. Puts your stuff that's good in the graveyard. And then, after you pay 6 mana, you get to cast a card for free each turn. Some of the cards, you either look from the top of your library or from the cards you've exiled earlier in the game. This is really good.
Yeah, this is like a... I mean, it's not going to flip that often. But it's a must-kill card. I think this is good. I think it's like a B.
So I think maybe the thing that people are missing about this card, we got some people in chat saying I don't think this card is good. Number one, the base rate of just the
2-mana 0/2 free looter is good.
Is very good, right? I think I saw some comparisons to like Curse of Surveillance, where it's like, oh, you're drawing an additional card each turn. The downside of Curse of Surveillance was that you spend 5 mana to like cast this like slow card draw spell. Sorry, you know what, chat? Let me just go back quickly. It does exile, so it doesn't care about your graveyard stuff. That's relevant.
Yeah.
So,
No disturb.
No disturb or anything like that. But the downside of Curse is you tapped out, paid 5 mana, and then it slowly drew you cards. This, you're paying 5 mana, and you can immediately cast a card. That's such.
You also get to do it like you can pass with your. You can do it at instant speed.
Yeah.
So you can pass with your counterspell or your bounce spell, and then you don't want to do anything. You go, okay, then I'm gonna loot and transform this.
So not only are you getting a big card advantage each turn, you're getting a big mana advantage each turn, right? You're gonna get to cast like 12 mana worth of spells each turn once this flips.
Yeah, this card is great.
Yeah, I'm into this card. I think it's like a B+.
B+, sure. I'm down with B+. All right. Next is Cemetery Illuminator. 1 blue for a 2/3 spirit with flying. Whenever Cemetery Illuminator enters the battlefield or attacks, exiled a card from a graveyard. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. Once each turn, you may cast a spell from the top of your library if it shares a card type with a card exiled with Cemetery Illuminator. Ooh.
Yeah, so decent body, 2 mana, 2/3 flyer. This one can actually block everything. Unlike its common counterpart.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, depending on, you're most likely going to look at your deck list and be like, okay, well, which card type do I have most of? It's gonna be creatures a lot of the time, but sometimes you might be, a spell heavy deck and it's like instant or sorcery.
Something that we didn't mention about the previous card, I forget what it was, that also cared about this, is that Evolving Wilds is in the set again. And so exiling Evolving Wilds from a graveyard and then being able to play lands,
right? Yes,
is pretty sweet.
This one can't do that though. This is only cast spell. So
yeah.
Okay, it doesn't just like Augur of Autumn.
It is not Augur of
This
Autumn.
is the one. Yeah. So what we're referring to for maybe people who aren't watching is this is the blue mythic in the cycle, just like Cemetery Protector, the 3/4 white flash creature. This is the blue version of that. But yeah, for all the other versions that matters.
Okay. Thank
all
you.
the other cards in the cycle. So I mean, a 2/3 that let's just say casts creatures off the top of your library.
Still very good.
Yeah, good card. Think of Augur of Autumn, but
B plus? B?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B plus.
Yeah.
All right, next up we got Dream Shacklegeist. 1 blue, spirit, 3/1 flying. At the beginning of combat in your turn, you choose one. You either tap target creature, or target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step.
Oh, so you tap a thing and then keep it tapped, I guess?
Yeah, or they've attacked you and then you go play this, that thing stays tapped down, or you use aggressively and you say, all right, you can't block, my ground creatures get in, or my flyer gets in. This is a really versatile card on just like a good efficient body.
Another B plus?
Yeah, I think another B plus. I maybe just like no, I was gonna say B, but this affects the board enough. Yeah, I'm in for B plus.
Next is Geralf, Visionary Stitcher, 2 and a blue for a 1/4 human wizard. Zombies you control have flying. And you can pay single blue, tap, sack another non-token creature, create an XX blue zombie creature token, where X is the sacrificed creature's toughness.
Okay. So 1/4 body, not so bad. It's a good blocker. And the zombies having flying, it's gonna be pretty good. If you're just like random curve filler zombies get flying, that's gonna be really reasonable upgrade to your board. The ability is kind of interesting. Like basically you're trading whatever ability the creature you're sacrificing has for giving it flying, right? You're like upgrading its stats into, or whatever stats it had, lose all abilities and just gains flying. So that's kind of cool too. Oh sorry, no, that's not true, because toughness, it's toughness, not just power and toughness. So like big butts play well with this too. Yeah, so pretty interesting card overall. You can also like sacrifice in response to removal. It makes removal spells, the timing of those is a little bit awkward. Of course, good against enchantment removal spells. Just like all around solid card. I think I would give this around a B minus or a B.
Yeah, I'm gonna go B, I think.
Cool. Next up, we got Inspired Idea. So this is 2 and a blue for a sorcery. It's got cleave, 3 blue for the cleave cost. So the non-cleaved is 3 mana. You draw 3 cards, and then your maximum hand size is reduced by 3 for the rest of the game. So your hand size will be 4. And the cleave cost, if you just pay all of it, you just draw 3 cards for 5 mana, which is not exciting, but you'll find buyout.
This is just by and large worse than the uncommon draw 3, discard a land.
I think so. So early, you're just like not gonna want to cast this on turn 3, right? It's just like you're gonna have to discard cards. It's just not what you want to do. And so essentially what this says is like late in the game, it's you're gonna cast it as the 5 mana draw 3 a lot of the time. Sometimes you get a nice little mana boost where you're like, okay, like I'm probably not gonna have more than 4 cards in my hand the rest of the game. I cast it now on turn 6. I can play this, draw 3 cards and then play something else. Overall, I'm not so excited about this though.
No, this seems like a C.
Yeah, just a C. It's like a fine card draw spell, but nothing special.
Yep. All right, next up is Winged or Winged. I gotta make sure. Gotta check with Ben if it's Winged. Portent. 1 blue for an instant. Draw a card for each creature with flying you control, or it has a cleave cost of 4 blue to draw a card for each creature you control. Definitely out on this card.
Yeah, it's just, maybe in the Nuts deck where you have all flyers, I think that's pretty unlikely. But yeah, I think we're just going to give this one enough and move on.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Next one up, we got Consuming Tide. So this is 2 blue for a sorcery. Each player chooses a non-land permanent they control. Return all non-land permanents not chosen this way to their owner's hands. Then you draw a card for each opponent who has more cards in hand than you.
This is like a commander card?
But pretty much, yeah. It's pretty hard to break the symmetry on these types of cards. We've kind of seen them before. It's really weird. It's like you get to keep your best thing. I get to keep my best thing. Sometimes you draw a card. It's it's just like a card that's, if you're like a blue controlling deck where you kind of just like want to buy a bunch of time, or it's not really good in a blue tempo deck, but a blue controlling deck that just wants to buy a bunch of time, this can actually be okay. It's good against tokens. All in all, like it's not something you want to prioritize. Like you'll play it some amount of the time, but I would just give like a C.
I'm gonna go like D.
Well, Lord, yeah, that's fair.
I'm out on that
We've
card.
played like with a few cards like this before. There's I think there's the one from M20 that was like 6 mana, which is I think was worse. There was one from Shadows over Innistrad, which returned based on the number of islands you control, and that card was okay as like a time buying thing, just like bounce everything and then unload. But yeah, I'm also
Didn't that one let you then like cast something for free or something?
That was the M20 one did, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the Shadows one was instant if I remember. Maybe not, but
anyway, next up we got Necro Duality, 3 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token zombie enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature.
Oh, kind of interesting. It's something for chat. Sorry, just quickly. Maybe it's kind of interesting for the blue-white deck that's Voltroning. You get to keep your one thing, and it's gigantic. I don't know. Just a small little quirk. Anyways, we'll move on to this card here, Necro Duality. It's fine. I mean, this is like Mists of Lityara from Call of Time, but only for zombies and one cheaper, which matters. Like, this is pretty powerful if your deck
This
is
a good
full
build
of zombies.
around.
Yeah, it's a good build around. Yeah, I'd give it like a build around C+.
Yeah, I'm gonna go build around B. You hate build arounds. You don't
Yeah,
like to give build arounds high grades.
Yeah, I kind of do.
Like build around C+, that's not a card to do it. That just means you're not drafting this.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm probably not.
Very weird, very weird take. Wait, so let's talk about this. Why not? What's the deal?
I mean, I just think that in most packs, there's just going to be a card that doesn't have as big of a draft risk, I suppose. Like, I'm into build-arounds that are, like, really powerful, where it's like, if I get there, this is awesome. And I think this card, like, is approaching that, of course, but I just think, like, your good, like, efficient creature is generally going to be better than this. And, I think maybe that's, like, there's certainly a draft philosophy thing. I don't think I'm right in that at all. Like, I'm like, oh, you should be drafting this way. That's just the way I tend to draft.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
What's next
up,
here?
we got a banger. Overcharged Amalgam. 2 blue for a 3/3 flash flyer with exploit. When Overcharged Amalgam exploits a creature, counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability.
Yeah, this is pretty sweet.
This is awesome. Yeah. 3/3 flash flyer. Good on its own. Exploit. You sack your 2-drop to counter their 4-drop or whatever. Yeah, this is really, really good.
Yeah, or you counter they've sacked a creature to exploit, then you counter the exploit ability. You can do a lot with this.
Yeah, this is good. This is like A-.
A-, yeah. I think so.
Yeah. It's not quite a 2-for-1, but it's gonna feel like it. Like both on like it's gonna be a 2-for-1 sometimes if you sack something for value, but just the tempo blowout of I have a 3/3 flyer and you didn't cast your 4-drop is really good.
Yeah.
Next up, we got another one. What we got here?
Mirror Hall Mimic, 3 and a blue for a 0/0 spirit. You may have Mirror Hall Mimic enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. It has Disturb for 3 blue. And the aura is Ghastly Mimicry. And the aura says at the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types.
Good God. That's so much. That's so many good things. So a clone on the front side and like a progenitor mimic on the back side.
This is an A.
Holy! So the backside is like a little slow-ish, but not even. It's just.
But it's free.
And you put it on your opponent's thing, right? So that so they like you don't want to put it on your.
Well, I don't know how often you want to do that, but yeah, you're
saying you want to put it on your thing more often than their thing.
Well, if I want to put it on their best thing, then I still got to kill their best thing, right? And then I lose
but
this.
Then you get a lot of their best thing.
Yeah, sure, that's fair.
Yeah, I think the risk mitigation of putting it on their best thing. I mean, it's going to depend on the game state, of course, but you're going to do both some amount of time. Either way, this card's very good. I'd give it an A.
Yeah, me too. Take us home.
Hull Breaker Horror, 5 blue for a 7/8 flash creature. Can't be countered. So another big old creature that comes in, probably eats something. When you cast this spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Very similar to the Geist, actually, the Exploit Geist, but this is just like very big and bounces something.
Yeah, give it like a slight knock for being 7 mana, but it's still insane.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, this is really good. I think it's like, yeah, exactly. It's a little bit cheaper, but yeah. Let's
I'm gonna go B
plus,
plus.
A
Yeah.
minus.
I'll go B plus. I'm gonna get, yeah, exactly. I'm gonna give it the 7 mana tax and go B
Okay.
plus.
Cool. Yeah, let's do that.
Sweet, that's blue.